Hi, I'm going to be using toilet paper to do chromatography with four different black markers. So first we're going to have a pen, then we're going to have a washable marker, then we're going to have a permanent marker, and finally a Chinese marker. So these four inks are going to be placed on toilet paper, and then we're going to put them all into water solvent. So first I'm going to draw a line on each toilet paper, just above the bottom of the toilet paper, so like this. And I'm gonna put these four toilet papers. So I cut the toilet paper in a small strip like this. I'm gonna put these toilet papers on a stick so that I could then put in the measuring cup. I'm gonna label each marker. So the red pin is gonna have black pen. Blue one is gonna have the washable. Yellow pin is gonna have the permanent marker. And then the last one is gonna have Chinese ink, just like this. So now I am gonna add the water solvent in my cup. So this is my measuring cup, and I'm gonna add just a bit of water. So this is gonna go in the cup. So I'm just gonna drop it in equally. The Chinese ink is rising. This one with the green pin, it's rising. The permanent ink is not doing anything, it's staying there. The washable marker is rising with a blue and green ink onto the toilet paper. And then the pen is not doing anything at all. It's interesting to know that the washable marker rose on the toilet paper, but not as black as blue and green. And then it stopped, and the water solvent rose up to here, and the green ink only rose to a certain level. Okay, so now we're gonna do the solvent rubbing alcohol. It's gonna be 70% alcohol. We're gonna put them on the stick, just as before, with the same pin, so we can label all of these different markers. So this is what it looks like. So just as before, we had the four paper strips with the same four black markers onto the strips. And instead of using water this time, we're going to be using alcohol. Just a bit. And now we're ready to put them in. So these are the results for the rubbing alcohol. So the pen, it rose a bit, now it just has dried out, but before it was a light black on the paper towel. Then the washable ink, the ink at the bottom is almost completely gone. It's on the paper towel as a greenish color. Now with the permanent ink, it has it rose on the paper towel as a dark ink, and the Chinese ink, it's black, very dark black. We still see the line that was drawn on before, and there's yellow at the top. The next solvent that we're going to do is going to be oil. So we're going to have, again, the four strips of toilet paper that are going to have the same markers. So we're going to start again with making the line. All the four lines, as you can see that. We're going to put oil into the measuring cup. So far, nothing is happening to the four paper towels, the oil rising onto the toilet paper. As you can see here, the oil rose on the toilet paper, but not the ink didn't rise as well. So only the Chinese ink. That, as I said, is probably the water that was there before because I washed it. The next solvent that we're going to test on the toilet paper with the inks on them is going to be water with a blue dye in it. So same procedure goes. We're going to start by writing a line right on top of all the toilet papers. Now we're ready to pour the water. And then we're going to add food coloring, all the dyes. So I'm just going to mix it a bit, so I added blue dye. So we'll see. So the Chinese ink rose very, very quickly compared to all three inks. So this is what happened to the 4 inks. The pen did not move, neither did the permanent ink. Although the washable ink, instead of being black, the line that I drew before, it's now greenish blue, but it didn't travel on the toilet paper. And then the Chinese ink did travel a lot, especially on this side of the toilet paper. It rose as much as the solvent. So this time, instead of using toilet paper, we're going to be using coffee filter, and we're going to do the same procedures as we did before with the same markers. So the same 4 markers, and we're going to use the same solvents again. So we're going to start with water. I'm going to draw the lines onto the coffee filters, and we're going to see if there's a difference between the material we're using. We'll see if this gives the same results. So now the experiment has begun, and we don't see any changes. I don't see any changes to the pen or the permanent marker, but the washable marker, the ink has turned blue-green, and the Chinese marker, nothing really happened to it either. So this is what's happening. You can't really see, but the solvent is rising, but not the ink. There's just the washable ink that changed color for this experiment. So you could see a closer, better look to the results for the coffee filter. The next solvent we're going to be using for the coffee filters is going to be rubbing alcohol. With rubbing alcohol into the measuring cup. And we're going to see the results. So 4 lines were drawn as usual onto the coffee filters, and I'm placing it into the alcohol. All 4 of the inks are rising. So as you can see here, the pen is rising a bit, but lightly onto the coffee filter. The washable marker is rising as a green color onto the coffee filter. The permanent ink is rising darker than the pen ink, and the Chinese ink is rising, but at the top of the top, it has a yellow color. So we're going to let it travel onto the coffee filter and see if there's a difference. This is the result we obtained. The next solvent we're going to use is going to be oil. So we're going to place the 4 coffee filters with the same ink as usual onto the into the beaker. the measuring cup and we're gonna see what happens. So I'm gonna pour the oil into the measuring cup like this. So far nothing's happening. There's still nothing that happened except the oil traveled onto the coffee filter. The next solvent we're going to use for this experiment is going to be dye water. So I'm going to put water into the measuring cup. And we're going to use the same color as we did for the toilet paper, so blue. Just going to put a bit of food coloring into the color. This is what it looks like. And I'm going to put the 4 strips of coffee filters into the beaker. And the solvent is rising pretty quickly. You can see the bluish solvent on the toilet paper, on the coffee filter is the solvent traveling, but the actual ink is not traveling as much. Just gonna leave it here for a few seconds, see if there's a difference. So the solvent traveled onto the coffee filter, but the ink did not at all. So the washable ink changed for a green color, and the Chinese ink has a bit of yellow with the mixed with black ink on the line that we drew at the beginning. So I'm gonna